All right, today we're jumping into the 2026 Tubi original rom-com, How to Lose a Popularity Contest. Let's get right into this story of revenge, romance, and the surprisingly tricky business of winning. So get this, the whole movie is built around this one wild question. It takes everything you think you know about high school social climbing and just flips it completely upside down. On the surface, it feels like a classic high school story, right? You've got the hallways, the student elections, all that familiar stuff. But it uses that setting to tell this really unique story about two people who think they're gaming the system, but end up finding themselves instead. So how does this whole mess get started? Well, like any great high school movie, it all begins with a really bad breakup and an even worse plan for revenge. Okay, so picture this. It's like the perfect storm of teenage heartbreak. First, Ellie gets dumped by her boyfriend, Rowan, during a Dungeons and Dragons game of all things. Ouch. A little while later, she's at a diner and bumps into Nate Reed, who, yep, just got dumped too. So misery loves company, and they form this pact to team up and make their exes jealous. And their grand plan? It's a doozy. They're not trying to win the student body election. Oh no, they're going to sabotage it from the inside out. The idea is for Nate to run for president with Ellie as his campaign manager, all to prove a point and hopefully, just maybe, win their exes back. Which brings us to the absolute heart of this movie. This completely unbelievable alliance between two people who couldn't be more different. I mean, we're talking about a classic opposites attract setup. On one side, you have Ellie Pierce. She's the perfectionist, the overachiever, a lot controlling, and a total social outcast. And on the other side, Nate Reed, the popular slacker who gets by on his charm and what the movie calls a dumb bro persona. It's the perfect recipe for a rom-com. You just know there are going to be fireworks. And here's the thing, it's not like they're just strangers from different cliques. They have a history. He actually gave her this horrible nickname years ago, Max, as in, a maxi pad. So we're not just talking about clashing personalities here. There is some serious bad blood between them. That is a huge hurdle to overcome. But of course, as they start working together, their little scheme forces them to face their own issues, and that's when the real story and the sparks really get going. Their plan hits some pretty major roadblocks almost immediately. Ellie has this impossible task of turning Nate from a slacker into a serious candidate. But Nate, who's totally fine singing in front of people, has a crippling fear of public speaking. So you've got that, their old baggage, and, of course, the totally inconvenient arrival of actual, genuine feelings. And this is where we get to see what's really going on with Ellie, that controlling kind of mean personality. It's a shield. We find out it's actually a coping mechanism. She's dealing with unresolved grief from her mother's death, and her obsession with control is just her way of managing the chaos she feels inside. It gives her character so much depth. Nate has his own mountain to climb, too. For him, it's all about learning to be vulnerable, to drop that popular slacker act and show people who he really is, which includes a secret passion for the arts. So even though Ellie's coaching starts out as manipulative, it's what ultimately pushes him to come out of his shell. Now, there is one pivotal scene where their whole dynamic shifts, where it goes from being just a scheme to something real. And believe it or not, it all happens over a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, D&D. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a fantasy role-playing game. But in this movie, it's way more than that. It becomes this bridge, this neutral ground that connects Ellie's nerdy world with Nate's social one. So how does a game do all that? Well, for one, it forces them to drop their public personas. In the game, they're not the overachiever and the slacker. It also creates this safe space for them to be vulnerable and sincere with each other. And honestly, most importantly, it lets them bond over something fun that has absolutely nothing to do with their revenge plot. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The actors themselves said the D&D scene was one of the most special moments in the whole film. They knew that was the real turning point for their characters' relationship. So all of this leads to the film's big finish, where our characters have to completely redefine what winning actually looks like. They have this shared moment of clarity, this moral crisis, really. They take a hard look at their manipulative, revenge-fueled plan and realize they've become the villains in their own lives. Just think about where these started.
Their whole team-up was built on this super shallow goal, getting their exes back, purely external validation.
But where they end up is so much more meaningful. They discover that the real prize isn't winning someone else back. It's about winning their own self-respect. It's this huge shift from needing other people's approval to finding their own integrity.
So in the end, they ditch the whole scheme. They choose the genuine connection they found with each other and their own self-worth over the petty revenge they thought they wanted.
And that kind of leaves us with this final thought, The film makes fun of high school popularity contests, but maybe the real question it's asking is this. Isn't the most important contest the one we play with ourselves? That struggle between who we pretend to be and who we really are? So, what did you think? If you enjoyed breaking this down with us, do us a favor and hit that like button, and definitely subscribe for more explainers on your favorite films. Thanks for hanging out.